Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar today. We're excited you're here. We're going to get started here in about 1 minute. 1 minute. All right, everybody. Thanks for jumping on today. We're excited you're here. My name is McKay Allen. I'm your host today. And we have Vroozi's CEO, Shaz Khan, who's joined us today. Shaz, thank you for taking the time to join us. We're excited for this topic and this presentation. Um, Today, the title is How to Supercharge B2B Purchasing in the Deltek Costpoint with the Vroozi Marketplace. So we're going to talk a little bit about the bolt-on solution. We're going to talk about our partnership and our excitement to be working with Deltek and how we can benefit those of you who are using Deltek Costpoint. A couple of housekeeping items quickly. We are recording this, so you'll have access to this after the fact. We'll make it available to you. The other thing I would say is in terms of timing, we'll try to keep this relatively short. Like we've all been on these 90-minute webinars before that numb your brain. We'll try not to do that. So we'll get you out of here in 30 minutes at most. And then finally, if you do have questions, go to the little question area at the top of the screen there. And we'd love to answer questions as we go. Just type them in and we'll be able to address those as we go through the presentation, I should say. So Shaz, thanks for jumping on. Anything you want to say to intro us here a little bit today about Deltek and our partnership with them?
Well, thank you, McKay, for having me today. And we are absolutely thrilled as Vroozi to join forces with Deltek in this amazing partnership, specifically with their Cost Point product line for project system-based businesses. And we hope that today will elucidate a little bit more about this partnership, first and foremost, but more importantly, the synergies between the respective product lines that we're bringing together for the Deltek Costpoint customers.
I love it. Love it. Well, why don't we start and just talk to us a little bit about Vroozi and just kind of what we do, our mission, and how it kind of fits into what Deltek is doing, and then we can go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, happy to. So Vroozi was founded in 2012. We're headquartered in Los Angeles, California, which is where I'm speaking from today. We have a mix of customers across the world in 18 different countries. We're SOC 1, SOC 2 certified, as well as ISO 27001. Take security very seriously as security threats are continuing to increase, not decrease, within organizations and enterprise software environments. And Vroozi's whole mission is to digitize processes to enable an intelligent business marketplace. What that means is that we are a productivity platform. We are focused on consumerizing B2B commerce transactions, as well as the downstream capabilities as it relates to accounts payable and payable options.
Awesome. And I think the big key here that we're trying to highlight as well is for somebody who's a Deltek Costpoint customer and uses them today, how Vroozi can streamline that process. And I think you said it really well. It's about simplifying, it's about streamlining, it's about making it more efficient. And I think that's really core to this partnership, this integration, and this webinar today, right? Like that's really what we're trying to do is simplify this process for everybody.
That's exactly right. I think if you look at corporations across the world, and let's talk about companies specifically in North America that are providing services to their customer base, like the US government, these areas of being able to visualize your supply chain with all of the suppliers that you do business with, both on the managed spend side and on the tail spend side, bringing those suppliers together in a consolidated view in a unified marketplace where you can distribute content to distinct individuals or regions or departments within your company. And most importantly, gain access to your contracted pricing, all the hard work your subcontract administrators and purchasing managers and category managers are doing being able to bring that pricing forward to your employees allows for incredible end user experiences, but more importantly, you are not going to have that spend leakage,
Mm.
which is really, really a big problem still within a lot of corporations today.
Interesting. I love that. All right, let's talk through a few of the problems, challenges that are sort of arising with B2B purchasing, and then talk a little bit about how we can help solve them with this integration with Deltek. So, problems here, I think we've talked about this in some previous discussions. The complexity of the workflows, I think, is a massive issue. It makes the procurement process confusing, frustrating, challenging, so people go outside of process, right? Is that part of the problem with the complexity of some of these workflows? Is that people just say, throw their hands up and say, I'm not even going to go through this. I'm just not going to deal with it.
Human nature defines, especially with enterprise software, the path to least resistance. So if you're going to embed processes or applications that are unnecessarily onerous or complex, the employee base will find alternative means to get their job done. And those alternative means become very dangerous in terms of cost control measurements, because now you're going and allowing employees to do things that are not within the guidelines of the policies and procedures that you've clearly laid out. And so when you look at complex workflows, the questions should be asked, do I need 20 people to go see something that I need to order for my business? Or can I streamline the approval chains such that the right people are seeing it and you're providing access to the individuals to not disrupt the ordering process by providing mobile capabilities for approval, as an example?
Interesting. And then the other one I want to highlight here is the unclear policies and procedures. This one is a massive issue in terms of everything from not knowing who needs approval to provide approval for a purchase of some sort versus what's a credit card versus what's a purchase order. Like there's so many areas where you have to have policies and procedures that make sense, right?
Absolutely. I think being a little bit more of a traditionalist, I always advise companies to first and foremost document your policies and procedures by whatever tool set that you have, because you have to have vision, right? In terms of what requires a purchase order versus what you can live without in terms of a PO versus what's going to be on a procurement card, corporate card, or virtual card for payment. Now, when you have those policies and procedures, it becomes a lot easier for you to basically build these channels within your marketplace that allow companies to actually help guide their employees to the right choices, right? And that becomes a game changer. You take the guesswork out of the procurement cycle by not only providing really great data in the
Mm,
marketplace, but also very good direction. And
interesting.
for us as a company at Vroozi, this is a game changer when you look at technologies like AI that can interpret your rule sets as an organization and apply those rule sets to your employee population and your departments.
Love that. And then spend legals. Let's talk about this. This I think is so interesting in terms of what people are concerned about heading into 2025 here. This one doesn't surprise me, right? Given kind of what we're seeing with budgets and what we're hearing about in terms of procurement process. But like people have to be able to reduce spend and they have to be able to track it, prove it, show it as well.
That's right. And I think, this is a incredible organization, the Hackett Group, that does this for a living in terms of their research
Yeah.
as it relates to corporate procurement, sustainability, supply chain, and other types of areas within the source to pay and contract management cycle. But what they're pointing out is that, spend cost reduction continues to be a very, very important driver. What I would add to the spend cost reduction is it's not just about core costs that you want to reduce. It's about also providing enough information and data about the product that you're buying, whether you have an ESG initiative or a CSR initiative, corporate social responsibility initiative that you need to hit, or whether you have SBE objectives to hit. Those also should be criteria that allow you to decide what you want to make available in the marketplace and how you want to influence employee behavior to purchase. I always advise it's not just about price, right? You could just look at price and say, okay, well, that's going to be a key driver for my cost savings targets. But what about the quality of the material? Where is
Yeah,
that material sourced? Are those materials hitting my specific objectives? Do I know my tier 3, tier 4 suppliers from a threat standpoint? Right? And so all of that information should be available to you in marketplace. And this is what we talk about when we talk about search. It's not just about core product search. It's about providing enough detail on the items and services that you're buying in the marketplace to make an incredible purchasing decision and also meeting your corporate needs.
I love that. Cool. All right. This, I think, kind of just piggybacks off what we've been saying, right? Gartner this year is saying 80% of B2B sales interactions will continue to occur in digital channels. That number is not going to decrease. It's going to continue to go up. Um, I'll speak for Gartner a little bit on that. I think that's just going to go higher. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the steps to enable this marketplace with Costpoint. So, what exactly does this bolt on with the Vroozi Marketplace do within Deltek Costpoint? Like, how does it work? What does it allow you to do? We'll dive into some of the specifics, including some screenshots and things. But why don't we talk through these in broad strokes? Let's start with negotiating the contract here. So, how can Vroozi help with this if you're using Costpoint already?
Absolutely. So, this is kind of the what we call the upstream process in the sourcing cycle within corporations. So once you have a contract that you've actually negotiated, oftentimes what happens with that contract, it becomes invisible. The rate cards become invisible. The products that are negotiated on that contract become invisible. And so what is Vroozi's responsibility? We want to take the data in that contract and first and foremost have feature-rich content that we load into a marketplace. Before you do that, the second step is to actually take the content from the contracts, all the products and services, the bill of materials, even just services and rate cards, and actually publish and bring catalogs together. And we have a self-service tool where you don't have any IT coding requirements whatsoever. You can actually take data from a supplier and create a feature-rich catalog. You can also enhance that catalog with your specific flex attributes. So for example, if you want to identify a product in your catalog as a sustainable product or a low carbon footprint product, you can actually badge that item. Okay, so you can basically enhance through the use of what we call custom characteristics and flex fields. Once you have that catalog, you might want to have a subcontracts administrator, or procurement manager, category manager review that content for validity. If you want to make sure that that item has to be removed or it's only made available to specialty individuals, hazardous chemicals, for example, you
Mm,
want that hazardous chemicals catalog to be only available to a few select groups or departments that understand what they're buying, right? Within
interesting.
the policies and procedures. And then once you segment that content in terms of the approval, finally you're publishing that content in a feature-rich marketplace, right? Today, as a consumer, we are ordering things and not even thinking about it. We're going onto our smartphone and booking a reservation at a restaurant. We are making plane reservations. We are buying consumer products for our home. And we're all doing it through multimodal capabilities, whether it's through a smartphone, a tablet, laptop. And the future of B2B commerce is exactly that, is creating these digital channels for companies to basically connect to their supply base digitally and then be able to leverage Costpoint for those downstream purchasing processes.
Interesting. I love that. Makes it simple, and I think it adds power to the cost point solution, um, which is already super powerful. But I think this makes things really simple and provides a really good bolt-on for that. All right, let's dive into some of the specifics here. So as we look through kind of, and we'll show some screenshots as we go to show how exactly the tools interact, things like that. But you can see these on the left-hand side here. So ordering products and services from the marketplace, AI-powered cross-catalog searching, looking through products across multiple suppliers, things like that. Is there any that you want to highlight here from this list? Are there any that you want to highlight from this list, Shaz?
Absolutely. I think, again, what we're doing is we're allowing companies to basically curate and configure experiences with their own supply chain. And so what that means is that if you're doing business with, major suppliers like a Fastenal, Grainger, McMaster-Carr,
Yeah,
just to name a few in terms of industrial parts and equipment, you should be able to realize those suppliers in your marketplace, allow your employees to securely order from them, and then slingshot those orders for approval. Once you have that requisition approved in Vroozi, then we have a seamless integration with Costpoint, which is really, really valuable because now all that project systems and procurement work that you're doing in Costpoint can actually flow down into the Costpoint system. But the key thing is that you have already done the hard work, which is you basically built the marketplace with your contracted pricing,
that's
right?
awesome.
You're preventing any kind of spend leakage. You have your suppliers there and you're curating content based on the users and departments in your organization.
Let me ask you a question about this as we dive into sort of how the Vroozi purchase request would work, plus the cost point purchase requisition. How do you think about ROI with somebody? Because I can see somebody saying, look, we're using Deltek Costpoint already. Do I need to really bolt on something else? Am I going to see the ROI from that? How do you think about ROI from this? Like in terms of cost savings, time savings, efficiency, process, things like that.
Well, ultimately, what you have to look at is, are you giving your employees the tool sets and the information necessary for them to make purchasing decisions?
Yeah.
And where Vroozi enhances the cost point value proposition is that we're doing exactly that.
Yeah.
We're bringing a B2C style e-commerce interface, number one. So employees can find complex products. They can be CapEx products, capital expenditures, or your run-of-the-mill office supplies or IT equipment. But the key is that you're doing it in a multimodal way by allowing companies to log into their smartphone securely or through their laptop, search across their entire supplier base for the products that they need. Once you have that, then you are basically bringing that information back into Costpoint. And what's the ROI? You're
Mm.
driving cost savings by ordering from preferred suppliers repeatedly. And so when you look at this business, there's a lot of maverick spend that goes outside of the system to unauthorized suppliers. Why? Because the process is so hard, right? By enabling this seamless connection between two systems, you are now providing a preferred supplier marketplace with your pricing that can feed directly into Costpoint for the downstream processing and purchase order generation. That's a game
Yep.
changer. That's an
It's
absolute game
it's
changer.
so powerful when you consider it that way. Like the ability to give that consumer the B2C style purchase that they use on a day-to-day basis when they're buying stuff for them and their family, right? To put that in a corporate or enterprise environment and integrate it with cost point is very, very powerful. I also love this, the ability to have a search engine across multiple suppliers. This is something I think the consumer expects, but actually, it's funny, in our personal lives, we expect something like this, but then in a corporate environment, it's almost like shocking when it's this simple. I don't know if you see that as well, but it's surprising when something works in the enterprise environment like it does in the consumer environment to me.
That's the number one goal for Vroozi is to digitize business processes to create an incredible experience, but also maintain the basic policies and procedures that you have in those organization and create that control framework. This should not be the wild, wild west in terms of procurement. You should be able to allow companies to find their products and services and check out with basically trust
Yeah.
that you are buying the products with the right type of pricing. And I think that is another major, major item when you look across your supply chain and the complexity of your supply chain and the different products that make up your supply chain. You should also be looking at, well, how do I make those products visible?
Yeah. Well, and I love this slide because this slide gives you a sense of the process flow. Because the number one question with any integration, any bolt-on is, well, how does it actually work? Right? Like, what does it actually do? And I love this slide because it gives you a sense of that, right? Like searching the catalogs in the marketplace, putting the items in the Vroozi cart, a Vroozi purchase request, and then it's immediately approved and goes into cost point, and then the process for the requisition begins. So there's just a ton of like really cool, intricate integration here that's really powerful. And I love the way this describes it. Anything you want to highlight from this slide?
Well, for us, it's about creating seamless experiences. And I think when you look at what does the future hold for enterprise applications, Well, it's going to be a set of interconnected applications
Yeah.
that are just connected, that are just digitized, that people can take advantage. So what does the future hold for the employee base, especially when you talk about AI? It's about hyper personalizing application sets to an end user based on their job function and role, and continuing to learn from that individual. And the same can be said about what Vroozi is doing with Deltek Costpoint. Our mode of innovation is not just focused on binary transactions. Okay, I do this and I get this output. It's about creating hyper personalized experiences where people want to use the tool to get the job done instead of avoiding the tool.
Yeah, that's so critical. Like, as someone who's worked in large enterprises and was very frustrated by that process, I 100% went around the buying process for stuff that I needed for my department to do my job. And I'm sure it infuriated everybody from procurement to IT to security, but I felt like I needed to do that to do my job effectively. And that's the experience you want to avoid, right? Um, I love this. Benefits with the Vroozi Marketplace itself. The cross catalog unified search is so massive. The compliance to the locked in contracted pricing, the ability to product and price compare like you would on a consumer website is really cool. And then, of course, the visibility and the compliance. We haven't talked about compliance as much on this webinar, but anything you want to say here? Like, I think a tool like Vroozi is really critical to make sure that every policy, every compliant, especially if you're in a compliant industry, that's really important to have that compliance structure within this integration.
And this is where Vroozi really shines, especially with our partnership with Deltek Costpoint as well. That, let's go back to the hazardous chemical example. That hazardous chemical purchase might require additional compliance individuals to review and approve that request before it gets sent to your major supplier. And so
Hmm.
being able to not only have a financial delegation of authority workflow, but also a compliance workflow that can fit in nicely into the purchasing cycle based on your business rules becomes a game changer, right? So you can also allow for multiple types of purchases that require specialized review, right? And that's where the compliance comes into play. It's not just about buying on the right contract, it's about also looking at who needs to see these types of requests.
Love that. Cool. This one's really cool. Like, you start using automation technology like this, and even fully transform, like the amount of savings you're going to see is really dramatic. 17% is a big number, but 45% is crazy. And I think that's what you will see as you engage with Vroozi, and use this bolt-on with Costpoint. So that's really powerful. The reviews are awesome. You can find those on G2 Crowd, and are great. I love reading these positive reviews, and positive reviews at this scale that are really positive are actually pretty rare, which is kind of fun to see. And then talk to people about just kind of the partnership we have with Deltek, and then where they can find Vroozi within the Deltek marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. So to find Vroozi, Deltek actually has an incredible marketplace with applications that they have vetted and have integrated into their ecosystem in terms of product line. If you go to the Deltek website and actually look at the marketplace, you can find Vroozi. We are a integrated partner with Deltek Costpoint specifically. And there's a lot of information there, but if there's more information required, they can certainly reach out to me directly or through our distinct sales channels that we have set up for
Great.
inquiries.
I love that. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, if they have questions, if they have anything they want to ask, they can reach out to you directly via email, which is awesome. Um, and then just a couple of questions that have come in that I want to hit on before we go. Um, how does the process work? Like, let's say someone's interested and they want to engage with us. Reach out to you. We'll also have people reach out to you directly, if you're on the call today, and engage with you, and see if you want to talk about the solution and talk about how it works. But how hard is this thing to set up is maybe the core question people are asking. Like, is this a tough thing to set up if you're using Costpoint? Does this take months and months of time and custom development?
No, and I think the custom word is a bad word in the Vroozi vernacular, right? We
Yeah.
want experiences to be configured based on business rules without requiring IT coding, right? And so to answer your question, a project implementation cycle typically is around 60 to 90 days. We like to keep them very compact. We have a number of different value engineering assessments that we do as well as part of the kickoff. But our focus is to get companies up and running as quickly as possible. And you should be, right? In looking at your application providers, the days of doing 2-year implementations on big box software, that's going to rapidly go away, right?
Yeah.
People are looking for rapid ROI. And with the advent of all these different types of technologies, companies should expect faster implementation cycles on these types of technologies.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's what people expect. Um, and are looking for. So that's awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. I know everybody on the call, you're busy. We had some awesome companies that joined us today, and we're really, really excited for this partnership, for this integration, and for this opportunity. So thanks to the Deltek team as well for working with us on this, and we're excited to do more of these in the future that highlight this partnership. So, Shaz, any final thoughts for everybody here? And we kept our promise, by the way. We said 30 minutes, and we're at 27, so we're doing great.
Fantastic. No, just really appreciate the opportunity. For any interested parties that want to learn more, please email me directly or go to our website. There's a wealth of information at the Vroozi.com website around this partnership, and we're absolutely excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate your time. Have a fantastic Thursday and a great rest of the week, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you.